What in the world is going on with used car prices? It's completely insane. Combined with high interest rates, it doesn't even make sense. These dealerships have 5-year-old used vehicles and they're asking MSRP for them. And there's plenty of new inventory, so it makes no sense. You guys know a few years ago when there was low inventory, prices of used cars skyrocketed and people were paying over MSRP for a used vehicle. And repo rates are skyrocketing, the highest since '09, which means those cars are going to wind right back up at the dealership. They're going to go to the auction, the dealer's going to buy them and bring them to the lot, and you know those cars have not had maintenance done properly. I mean, come on, if you're not making your payment, who knows what you're doing? Are you even changing your oil? And interest rates are still pretty high. If you look at a CarMax window sticker, it's showing 8.95% for very good on interest rates. That's completely insane. And it goes up to over 22%, so if you have bad credit, you're going to pay so much in interest, it doesn't even make sense. But even 8 or 9% being a good rate is insane right now. So you got high prices combined with high interest rates, and it's not just the car. Think about the car insurance, think about all this stuff around you that went up over the last few years. And it really sucks because new cars are completely insanely priced. I mean, $48,000 is just the average new car, which is what's driving these used cars to be so dang expensive. Because you're pushing out so many people from buying a new car, they simply won't and can't. So it's keeping more buyers in the used car market, and simply when new car prices are higher, it's gonna roll over to the used car market. But what you could have got for $10,000 5 years ago compared to now is crazy. And if you go to a dealership auction, they're paying these crazy prices at auction right now too. Because you gotta think it was just tax time. So tax time is normally the best time for used cars. Because to be honest, even with bad credit, let's say you have 5 or 7K down, you could pretty much get anybody approved. So finally some people will have some money to put down and they can get them approved on the car that they want. But it still makes absolutely no sense why these used cars are selling for over MSRP or even at MSRP. I mean, come on, it's a used car. And car dealerships used to make a pretty good chunk of money on the front end gross on used. They make a lot more on the front end gross on used than they do on new, especially on trade-ins, because they try to steal that car from the customer they traded it in, so they give them $15,000, but then they mark it up to $25,000 and sell it to you. Especially right now, they're just looking at Black Book and looking at the market, and they will be more than happy to keep raising prices. In all reality, people just simply can't afford the cars they're buying in most cases. They can barely afford the payment, and that's why these repo rates are skyrocketing. But if the bank keeps giving the lending, guess what? People are going to keep buying them, and these prices are going to keep going up. This average used car price is going to keep ticking up. And honestly, it seems like the used car quality is lower than ever. When I go to CarMax, when I go to dealerships, you're going to see the used cars with body panel, paint differences, all this stuff going on. Probably didn't get any maintenance done, and who knows how reliable it's going to be in the long run because it wasn't taken care of. And that's what happens when people can't make their payments. They don't take care of the car. So I think majority of these used cars are just very low quality on top of being high prices, on top of high interest rates, on top of all this stuff. And dealerships floor plan this inventory. So floor planning is the dealership's financing for the actual used cars that they're buying. And so they might get 60 or 90 days with a really low interest rate. After that, it will tick up. So they really have to be on the clock to sell that thing. You go to the new side, it's overpriced. You go to the used side, it's overpriced. It doesn't make any sense at most of these dealerships. And that's why more people than ever I'm hearing are saying, I'm going to keep my old car. I'm going to replace the whole engine before I have to buy a new car. Because it honestly makes sense financially with how overpriced these vehicles are. I mean, come on, you can get a whole new engine, you find a right shop, but don't go to the dealership because let's be honest, even the service department will try to screw you over. So I really hope used car prices start to plummet, but as long as banks keep giving money out and people keep signing the paper, they're going to keep going up because over 80% of customers at these dealerships are payment buyers, and you got to think the interest rate is going to be over 10%. I'm telling you, it's crazy, especially on these used cars. So you're overpaying for a used car on top of a high interest rate, on top of going back to the finance box and buying all the warranties and gap coverages and all these things, and overpaying for those as well, which is just putting you farther in a hole. So people completely are buried in these cars. They owe way more than the car is actually worth. But if it was me, I would stay far, far away from these vehicles. New, used, it just seems like all of it. It's like keep what you have if you can. I'm telling you, it will save you a lot of money. And I was even looking at Facebook Marketplace, and some people are asking crazy amounts. They're like, I know what I got, but it's still, sometimes you can find a good deal on there, but you just have to be careful and you got to look around. Even at a dealership, you might be able to find a trade-in that's a gym that's owned by a grandma that's been well taken care of, but they're just getting a lot harder to find. And when the dealership comes around a good trade-in or a good quality vehicle, they want want all the money in the world for it. But let me know what you think. Is it just me who thinks used car prices are just completely insane? I'm really interested to hear what you think. Let me know. Have a great day and stay blessed.